and welcome to Health Alternatives. I'm your host, Karina Rachel, and I'm joined today by Renee Rodgers. She's going to be sharing her experience working in hospitals as a registered nurse and how she has stumbled into the realm of yoga therapy and how it can be effective in helping us to improve our overall health and achieve our various weight loss or health-associated goals. So Renee, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, can you maybe just start by introducing yourself and kind of how all of this began for you?
Definitely. So I'm Renee. Hi, everyone. I am a registered nurse. I have my bachelor's. I have my bachelor's in psychology as well. And I spent about 5 years working as a traveling critical care nurse.
Wow.
So not only was I in different hospitals all throughout the nation, but I was in all different units too. And I thought kind of something was up with it always. I never really quite connected with it. And then it wasn't until my own personal health journey with 2 diagnoses of autoimmune disease after years of pain and suffering through it,
Wow.
that I really started to have a whole new spin on our healthcare system and really experience it as a patient instead of just as a healthcare provider.
Right.
And that just ultimately led me into holistic practices and career change and lifestyle change and outlook change. So
Wow.
yeah, it's got a long history.
So can you talk more about the diagnoses you received and what kind of symptoms you were experiencing leading up to that?
Right. So psoriatic arthritis and alkalizing spondylitis. They're both 2 just genetic arthritises, basically. One has maybe some more nerve things involved in it, but it took years before I actually went to the doctor for it. I had years of just pain and immobility and so many restrictions. Mm-hmm. And I was, a D1 college athlete that was all taken away from with this, just
Wow.
because my pain and mobility were so restricted. And I spent the longest time thinking it was coming from me, thinking it was mental or what's wrong with me? I'm not tough anymore. I can't get through it. And when it got so bad, finally, I think with some of the added on stress of being a traveling nurse, mm-hmm. that I finally started needing some help from, doctors. So I went down that route and finally got the diagnosis and then played their game for about 2 years and just kept getting worse and worse and decided it was time to find a different avenue to handle things.
So I guess let's walk up to that moment where, I take it you were on medications, you were, I guess, going the kind of typical mainstream approach. What was it that made you decide, so you think that, okay, you're a nurse already, mm-hmm. you're working in critical care, you have a lot of knowledge mm-hmm. and a lot of understanding. So what was it that made you ultimately decide to look for a different path?
It was a lot of little things finally adding up into the big picture, I think. The medication was a huge start. By the end of those 2 years, I was on so many narcotics and muscle relaxers and nerve blocks that, among other things, that all I could do was finish a shift and crawl home and take it and sleep until my next shift, right? And then it got so bad that I was having difficulty completing a 12, 13-hour shift, being off the medication. I was in so much pain, I couldn't physically do my job. My joints were so bad, I couldn't open the pill packaging to give to my patients.
Wow.
And that's when it really sunk in for me. It's I can't do my job. What if something really happens and I'm not able to perform in the way that I need to in an ICU or an ED? And that really made me take a big, hard look at things.
And you're young.
Right.
How old were you when all of this was happening?
About 25. And so that was another big thing is the next step then when I went back to the doctors and acknowledging that, I'm in so much pain, I can't do this. What else? What's my other options? And then they suggest biologics and immunosuppressants. And then that was another, I was I'm 25 and I work in a hospital. How is shutting down my immune system and making me so susceptible to every other illness that I work with every day
right.
the next option? even though that's what I had studied all my life and that's what I practiced every day and that's what I believed in at the time, it just didn't feel right with me. So I started doing my own research, looking for another avenue. So after tons of research, everywhere I could find, reading everything about arthritis, I finally came across something called Ayurveda, and I'd never heard of it before. And it just seemed to really make sense from the get-go. It was like the first system of medicine really originating in India. And what I was really drawn to right away about it is that it takes the whole person into account. It believes that every person is different and has different needs, and that not one health care plan is appropriate for everyone. It looks at lifestyle, it looks at your natural tendencies and habits in life, like when do you wake up in the morning, when are you hungry during the day, and all those little details even that make us who we are physically and as a person are taken into account into this healthcare system. So I thought, hey, this sounds like something new and completely not what we do in Western medicine. Let me read some more about that.
Well, because Western medicine is mostly like, what is your symptom? Okay, here's how we treat this symptom. And actually the, even just from one organ system to another, a lot of times you have instances where the medication they prescribe, actually it causes all of these other issues or maybe even other symptoms, and then people end up on drugs to handle the symptoms. So Ayurveda as as an alternative approach, it really is completely looking at the body from a completely different perspective, and certainly for me, is something that I see as much more valuable in actually helping people, resolve the problem that's causing these various issues, and hopefully get rid of them once and for all.
Yeah, absolutely. takes a look at the very root of the cause of the issue, and realizes that a lot of times emotions and other things have a play and an impact on our physical health. And so it's not just breaking it down into, the box of the lab values and the numbers and shoving people into a box and not actually looking at them. It's taking the qualities of who they are and what they need into account, which I found so great. So I started looking at hospitals and clinics in the United States, and unfortunately they were outside of my budget by quite a bit. And then I thought, hey, I love to travel anyway. I've done lots of trips and learned so much. Like maybe this is just something I need to do in India where it all started, and it just felt right. So that's how I got there.
Wow. So how long were you in India?
I was at the hospital itself for 30 days. And found so much symptom-free after 30 days. Dropped so much weight right away. Weight that I had thought was just body fat was actually inflammation in my tissues and just excess water I was carrying around and my lymph not draining properly. Like my whole body was just messed up, and it just took getting things in balance again. And everything started working again. It was the first time I felt like I was in my body for years. That I felt like I was me. It was amazing. So then I decided I wanted to learn more about it and really start making this my life and helping other people in this way, because in a way that I could never help them in the Western world of healthcare. So I went on and did some studying in Nepal too, and a little bit of Malaysia, and was over there in total for almost more than 9 months.
Okay. Awesome. And then where did the yoga and yoga therapy start coming into all of this?
So that was the yoga and meditation were a part of our daily practice at the Ayurvedic hospital. And I had tried yoga before in America, and I wanted to do yoga. It looked cool and it was a thing, and everyone talked about the benefits from it. But every class I went to, it just hurt me. It would floor me afterwards. It was too fast or didn't pay attention to the special needs of my body, and so I gave up on it. But linking it with the breath and conscious movement and changing the state of my mind and changing the relationship I had with my body, instead of just forcing it to do things, I finally started to listen, and I started restricting my movements instead of forcing through the pain. I used to just force through the pain, and I can do it, I want to be normal, but I started listening to my body when it was talking and backing off, and then my body started trusting me again, and then the trust came in and it would allow more movement.
Okay.
And so it was a whole different form of yoga. And once I found that, I thought, this is something that I can integrate into my life every day. Maybe I can't be at a hospital. Maybe I can't eat perfect organic food grown right on the property, you know, but like I can take yoga. I can take that into my life. So that's when I originally started signing up for yoga teacher training and just talking about with people over there, because everyone has such a vast wealth of knowledge there, and one thing has just really led to the next, and I just can't get enough. The more I learn, the more I want to know and help others with.
Very cool. All right, so we actually did some yoga videos earlier.
We did.
And I thought it was really cool to see you explaining how when we start linking the movements with our breath, we actually have a change in our state, our state of being, our state of mind.
Yes.
And when we talk about trying to improve our health, which is usually making a lifestyle change, improving the way we eat, improving our exercise, improving how we handle stress, really what is required, or what makes it so much easier, is that change of state. A change in our thinking, a change in our relationship with our bodies. Because I think what you're saying about, the experience you had, certainly something I can identify with. I think other people do too, that we sometimes feel like we're working against our body. Our body is holding us back from being able to look the way we want, or do this, or when you're in yoga and you're trying to, oftentimes the instructor, right, is really flexible. So they're doing this movement, and if you try to force your body to do the same things as this other person, it just makes you feel, 5 steps back or whatever. Oh, I can't do this. I'm not flexible enough for this. My body can't do this or whatever. So I love that, so much of what you shared in those yoga videos was about changing that relationship with your body and kind of knowing what it means to listen to your body, as opposed to just kind of forcing your body to do this motion or this motion.
Definitely. I think that's a big key component to why it works. It just reframes the way you think about everything. People even come into the clinic and they talk to me about their chronic pain, and they'll say, Renee, my body's really let me down. And I get where they're coming from, because I used to feel that way too, like, why is it doing this to me? Like, why won't it work anymore? I used to be so athletic and healthy. But we have to realize that it's a two-way street, right? It's like when you have the argument with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your significant other, and it's like, you really let me down. What? I let you down? What about you? You didn't do this or that for me.
Right.
I imagine that is the body's comeback when we say that. It's like, think about all the things you didn't do for me. So thinking about it as a relationship, I think, can be so paradigm and really changing the way. Like, every cell in our body is living, and it's feeling, and it's thinking. And if we're able to accept that, you really start to come into play. Like, your body talks to you, definitely.
So can you maybe talk a little bit more about the yoga therapy that you're offering, and maybe what makes it different from yoga, or certain types of conditions or ailments that you think that it can be helpful for?
Definitely. So I'm completing my training at the Yoga in Austin, Texas, and a lot of the teachers come from the Yoga Well Institute, and it's a lineage of Mr. Desikachar. So that's a big name in yoga, like founding father of yoga. A lot of people are probably familiar with that name. And what he did is really help to break it down and understand that it's so much more than asana. American yoga has become so exercise-based and about the body positions and the cool poses you can do. But back to the lineage of Mr. Desikachar, it's so much more than just the body positions, right? There's 5 components of the human system, I believe. So you have your body, And your body is breathing, and it's thinking, and it's feeling, and it's behaving. And all of these influence our state in different ways. When my emotions make me feel something, my breath rate changes. If I get angry at you, my breath rate changes. And maybe that changes the way I'm thinking about this interview, you know? And then I'm changing the way I'm behaving about this interview. And it's all interrelated. And so what yoga therapy does is it takes that concept and it takes that 5-layer model. And then it takes you as a whole person. And it looks at you as help and what you need and makes it really accessible in your life. If you're really super busy like everyone else and you only have 10 minutes, that's okay. We can make a practice just for you that utilizes those 10 minutes. And 10 minutes a day, every day, is going to have way more of an effect on your state and at rewiring your nervous system and your behaviors than, 3 hours once a month. So It's all about just looking at the individual as a whole being and tailoring a program just specifically for them.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So could you maybe give some more specific examples of how you've used yoga therapy to help people out?
Absolutely. There's so many. It really can help anything. From stress reduction is huge and problems sleeping at night. We get a lot of clients for that, to weight loss or even just having more of a supportive mindset in that journey, to lowering high blood pressure, to arthritis, to like specific body things, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, headaches, arthritis, any specific body function too. And sometimes just an overall goal of well-being. People say, there's just something missing from my life, and I don't know what it is, but I want to feel better and I want to feel happier. Can you help me? And there's something for everyone.
Wow. And so the yoga therapy that y'all use in the clinic, this is something that's like more individualized as opposed to like people come to a class or something like that.
Definitely. So you can do it in small group classes, make a generalized class for back pain or what have you, but it really, really works best one-on-one in a supportive environment and with a mentor. So if you're able to feel cared and supported and trusted in your healing journey, that's so much of the part of it right there. When we go to doctors' offices, we hardly even get to say what's wrong with us before they rush us out the door. And just having that space to feel cared for is tremendous in the healing process. And then just really being able to customize a plan specifically for you. What are your goals, or what do you want to improve in your life, or what do you want to alleviate? And looking at your life, just you, nothing else, making it just for you. So it really, really, really is just great one-on-one.
Awesome. And I loved what you mentioned a second ago about improving, can't remember the exact words you used, but improving our motivation to do the things that we know we want to do. We want to clean up our diet. We know we need to exercise more. We know that we, are too stressed out or whatever. One of the most common questions that I get is, how do I stay motivated?
Right.
How do I stay motivated? And this is maybe like the $1 million question, right? Because we all maybe know what we need to do or what we should do, but really the ultimate question is, how do we motivate ourselves to do this every day and be consistent, and really maintain that positive outlook, not just on life around us, but on ourselves, so that we, I see this a lot in my health coaching. People feel, I'm not dedicated enough. I can't do this. I can never finish the things that I start. We start making these really powerful self-judgments. And I think that, oftentimes it's those self-judgments which are actually the biggest threat to our motivation and to actually being able to be consistent. So I think it's awesome that with the yoga therapy, that's actually something that you're either actively or accidentally addressing, and helping people to really get past that final barrier, so to speak, of like, how do I build this motivation and this confidence in myself to keep coming back and doing these things.
It had all the change for me. I was having the same roadblocks still, even after all my training and knowledge. There were there were periods that I just couldn't get up and do what I knew I had to do, what was good for me. And you said it is, how do you keep yourself motivated? You can't always. It's having that mentor relationship, and it's being supported by another that removes that roadblock for you, you know? It's You don't have to put it all on yourself anymore. There's other people to help you.
Awesome. Well, Renee, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining me today. I definitely look forward to having you do some more interviews like this and some yoga videos with us as well. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that you found it helpful and that you'll join us again in future interviews. You can check out the related videos to see some of Renee's yoga videos, and we've included in a link in the description of how you can learn more about her yoga therapy and even set up a consultation with her. Thank you so much for watching, and I do hope you'll subscribe so you can come back and join me again next time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.